Some say you have to start without light to find it, so let us see. It's on a blank canvas where our imagination of freedom takes the lead. In these seams, our culture speaks. It's the beauty we see. Each lace holding a powerful story together, each thread binding history forever. With footsteps forward from where we want to be, where to be living is to be free. We're leaving our legacy. Join hands, join hearts, it starts by recognizing you play a part in moving the arc. Don't you know hope is a verb that says we must unite in spite all that wants to take us back. We're stronger together, stay on this path. Every sprint, every cut, every time you get knocked down, you gon' get back up. Turn messages into movements, shape what is yet to be made, search for what is yet to be discovered, go higher than you've ever gone, just trust. Change takes all of us. From your kicks on your feet that takes your mission to the street, we fight for justice with no apologies. So with every part of me, let this be a message to all of humanity. May we breathe, stand, and live for equality. Hello everyone, my name is Trey Baker. I'm a spoken word artist and the author of the poem you just heard. I'm here with Sky Diggins-Smith. I'm here with Nneka and we're just, excited to have a conversation about the impact of what the Kicks for Equality campaign is. And so I kind of want to start out with your inspiration and your thought process behind the cause in which you wanted to promote through the shoe.
Yeah, I did childhood literacy. I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old, and that's just a part of our daily routine. I was a passionate reader as a kid, and so just kind of bringing that back to the forefront and just highlighting that as a mom, something that's important to me outside of my children's health is their education.
Right, and I would say that a parent is a child's first teacher, and like that importance of representation, like you just said, I think is really, really important for a child's development. Nneka, what about you?
We live in a society where no one group is a monolith. We have so many different intersections, especially being women in sport. I've been able to learn so much about the different women that I've been able to compete with, compete against. And so my shoe design is reflective of both Nigeria and Seattle. Nigeria's flag is green, white, green, and then Nigeria's country of flower is also yellow. Speaking to the intersections that we all occupy, I kind of wanted to use myself as an example to show that you can use who you are to kind of express who you're becoming.
Absolutely, and I know you've talked about this a lot, but you're big on, how do we connect back to the diaspora, right? How do we create storytelling that allows for that intersectionality to happen? And so I think it's really powerful that you decided to kind of use your culture to highlight that in a really powerful way. Kind of building off of that, what are some of the things in terms of your own personal battles?
I think as women, we're born into that challenge. We occupy spaces that are not designed for us. We spend most of our lives trying to figure out how to advocate for ourselves. I've learned that that's best practiced in advocating, ironically, for other people. Sometimes we're better friends to other people than we are to ourselves. Yeah. And so it's taken me a while to become a friend to myself, but I've done it by doing it with and for other people and other people doing it for me.
Sometimes it's hard for us to speak out. Sometimes, there's insecurities, right? There's non-believers. What if we say something that it's not gonna relate to others?
You lift as you climb.
Yeah.
Right,
yeah.
right.
Lift as you climb. And say, okay, if I'm the first of whatever from this place or whatever that looks like in this space, making sure that I'm not the last.
That's right.
And I think that is really like the definition of, okay, you see some type of success, you have some type of, but it's the giving back part to me that solidifies the success, if that makes sense.
No, absolutely.
What are you able to give back from that? Or what are you able to, how are you able to kind of grow roots from there?
Yeah.
And so, I think it's also important, like when you're in the spotlight or you have a platform, just being mindful of how you use it and really standing for something, even though it's going to be people that disagree with you, don't feel some sort of way, but I think that perspective and I would say, like, I know sometimes in the past, I feel like you feel like you're not being heard, then you shout a little bit.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think just having the voice, the platforms, to be able to bring about some type of change and really being intentional about doing those things.
leadership is not about us showing our power. It's how can we empower others, right? How can we give that power to that next person to then take the baton and say, go with it.
And it's not a positional thing.
Right.
It's not positional to me. It's actionable items. It's actions. It's never about the position of this is who, no, but it's more so about having the power to speak up on certain things that people the group might think, but the voice, the voice to say it. And it's some fear in that. It could be bravery and fear are the same thing.
Yes.
And I definitely operate in the sense of like the pressure. Do you feel pressure to? No, I think that's an illusion. I think that's what you make it in your head.
Exactly.
Is what I say.
Exactly.
But yeah, just that part of trying to invoke, just open the conversation up. Because sometimes I think we're afraid to even bring the conversations to the forefront. And I think just sometimes as women in our position, whatever the case may be, sometimes just starting the conversation.
Yep.
And then it opens up to what it is.
Leadership is not about a position. It looks different for everybody, and I feel like you being able to find that authentically, it's what makes it so real. It's what makes it stick. It's what keeps that sustained, It's important to lean into what feels true, but then also what pushes you forward,
The question I would pose to you all is, what is diversity, equity, and inclusion in the community look like in the 21st century?
Applying the stuff that we've discussed here when it comes to being brave, in the name of fear, being fearless, bringing the conversation. It's not even about having the conversation. It's opening up space for the conversation to happen. And I think DEI just exploded once 2020 happened. And I say this all the time. I've said this since 2020. I was asked to be on so many panels after 2020. And one thing I always tell people is change can't happen if you're not living it. So like you can't show up to work and say that you're the head of the DEI group. You can't show up to work and say, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that. Look at all these look at the diversity in our staff. And then you go home and nobody you interact with, none of your friends, your community looks like what you're doing at work. You know what I'm saying? And I think that might be why we are the way we are, because we've been playing this sport for a long time.
It's not trendy to us.
We've been exposed to it for a very long time. We've known how to navigate different spaces. We've known what works, we've known what doesn't, and we've done that with so many different types of people. And not just in terms of, not just diversity in background, diversity in position. You know what I'm saying? Like there's people above us or people that work upstairs that we've had to deal with. There's people that are just joining spaces that we've occupied for a long time that we've had to deal with, intertwined with all the diversity of our just individual backgrounds. When you talked about diversity, equity, and inclusion for Kicks for Equality, I personally think that what it exudes here in Seattle is integrity. That's why I came here. That was something that I talked about a lot in my free agency visit, is the integrity of this organization. They want to do things well and they want to do things the right way. And I feel like you can't go wrong in anything you're trying to approach, whether it's a hard conversation or advocating, organizing, mobilizing, if you don't have integrity. But it has to be here first. So if you're at home and your home life is not diverse, how much are you really going to change when you step outside of your house, you know? And I think that it really starts there. And it's not to do it to say you did it. It's to do it for the community, for the sustainability.
Not to get something in return or to not, it's not transactional.
Exactly. It's not a means to an end.
And it's a very personal journey.
If you have some type of privilege, how are you using it? It's fine to have it. Okay, you got it. But how are you using it? Are you using it at all? Or are you using it to benefit just yourself?
Within the WNBA basketball culture, how do we use that to continue to push these same pillars?
Now I think people see W as part of popular culture. I didn't think people saw the W as part of pop culture. You can get trends from the W, fashion trends, news, story, music, those things. To me, basketball is the mecca of pop culture. I don't think that they started inserting the WNBA into those popular culture conversations. Not saying we didn't deserve it, but I'm just saying now the attention is, they do have stories to tell. You know, they do, they're actually pretty pretty, you know, deep and non-dense women. The technology, the slang, just the stuff that pop culture, when you think about it, I think recently the W had just entered that conversation from a mainstream standpoint about how they treat it as a whole.
You know, I'm always very sensitive in answering questions about like what we need to do because we've been doing it, you know what I'm saying? And whether the story is told or not, it's happening.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what she's speaking to is like, how do we take advantage of getting those stories out? Because we're not gonna start doing it because people are coming to write stories.
Absolutely.
You know, we've been doing this. We've been doing this for a long time. Even before I became president in 2016, that's when, you know, there was a media blackout for the killing of Philando Castile in Minnesota. It made news, but you know, the credit was not given to not saying that we were doing it for credit, but there was no accessibility to get the stories of what was happening in our league because of those people who are in positions of privilege, in positions of power, and making the decisions on what stories are being told. I think we just need to keep being ourselves and holding people accountable for the visibility and the exposure that is necessary, not just for the stories to be told, but for us to continue to make change and to shift the culture, because the reason why people saw us in 2020 was because we were the only thing on TV.
Come on. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was so ironic because in a world or in a time where Black women were most disproportionately affected by the pandemic and the mechanisms of the pandemic, not just in health, but also in job security.
Absolutely.
We had to wrap that around our brains, take our families into a very risky situation to earn that money and also provide entertainment for those who are at home, you know? So like it was to me, it was so dystopian to think about.
It's insane. And to compartmentalize like that. To like, okay.
And then still perform.
And still perform.
You know what I'm saying?
And still perform.
Come out, like,
and still come out. So it's like, we're gonna do it. Like we're always gonna step up and do it. But it takes advocates, it takes those in power, it takes people like you. You have a platform that you're now using. There's probably people who have never been exposed to the W that might get exposed to the W now.
Absolutely. And Nneka, you were part of a documentary that just came out that kind of gets into that conversation of just the power of the W and how it leveraged culture, politics to create that visibility, like we're here.
And did an excellent job as the president during that time, navigating that space with everything else and being all world. Things that come out of the W, how we move, she's been the one that put in a lot of legwork to it. You know, we stand on her shoulders in that sense around that. And so a lot has been done by the players. You know, we have influence.
In the real way.
In the real way.
Yeah.
Not just talking about, you know, a social media
metrics.
World or whatever the case is. No, we have real life influence. Even if you think professionally about people that you can physically reach out and touch as athletes, we're the closest ones to it.
Right, yes.
You know, that you can physically,
no, but that's like an
accessibility.
A serious point, though.
So, to me, we shouldn't be having to do too much more than that. I'm just saying, like, I mean, geez Louise. You know, heavy is the head, but like we definitely are the players. Just credit so much to the players who actually are very passionate about these things, how we speak, how we influence politics, how we just popular culture. We have always been like this, but now, you know, are you here for a good time or a long time?
Right,
you know,
exactly.
what are you doing? You know, is this going to be sustainable? Are we organized?
Yes.
Are we organized in this approach of what we want to do, how we're trying to do it, and how we're going to get it done?
When I had the opportunity to meet with President Obama, he said, Trey, don't let cynicism win. Because hope is not just something we say, right? It's something we're actively doing. How do we continue to bring that joy to the work that we do in that sense of hope?
This may not be the answer that like people will resonate with outside of like Black women, but there's this woman who wrote a book called The Nap Ministry. She said rest is resistance, especially for Black women. So I know that I know that people may not understand that, and I think that it's because there's different levels of privilege. You know, as a Black woman, I can keep the joy by resting, by finding time to rest.
Solitude.
Because rest is not our instinct, you know? And so us being able to balance that rest is what I think will keep the joy. Let me tell you right now, I don't feel like there's any there's any convincing a Black person to keep the hope alive, because if we didn't, like, really, where would our society be?
Yep,
you know what I'm saying? Like, we keep going. But specifically speaking to Black women, I think keeping the joy is allowing yourself to rest and enjoy the life. You know, enjoy the life so that you could do the work, because we're always going to defer to the work. That's something that's always going to happen.
Right.
Carving out time to be intentional about taking a break, carving out time to be intentional about communicating when you need rest.
Boundaries,
saying no, those things are very important. And I think, like, rest is not, I don't want people to think about it like in the literal sense necessarily. It's certainly a spectrum. It's incredibly subjective.
It's mental, it's physical.
It's everything.
Spiritual.
And also, rest to me is synonymous for others with advocacy. You know? So if I can say, like, hey, I can't do this, I'm gonna need you to, you know? Yeah, like, I have to be able to have a community of people that's diverse that I can do that with, you know? And I have to be able to tell her, hey, you need to sit down. You know, like, I have to be able to tell her that.
Like, just being honest. Like,
because that's empowering me. You know? Because if I tell her that, I know she's gonna tell me that. You know what I'm saying?
Then when it's time, I'm like, remember when you said.
Exactly. So it's that level of accountability that I think maintains the network that can maintain the joy, and it just means that all of our responsibilities are different based on the different privileges that we have.
We always talk about that balance, and people always ask about balance, and I say, I ain't never gonna have the same amount in every cup. It's just not gonna happen.
It's gonna be different every day.
It's gonna be different, and sometimes I just have to get away, solitude. You know, I'm never lonely when I'm alone. If I'm alone, it's intentional.
One last thing, Sky, we met in the middle of the season. Had the opportunity to share a poem that I wrote for you, inspired by your introductory press conference. I have a little surprise for you.
You got something for me?
I got something for you. I got something for you. So you said, Trey, I need that printed off.
Yes, no, you did. Yes.
The Storm family and I got together.
Oh, wow.
And we got it printed out for you so you can take it home.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
It was good too, y'all.
I just am so grateful for your all stories. You're inspiring me. You're inspiring so many.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you all.
We'll be selling shirts for $32. We got some merch we gonna make.